Good morning. I am going to do a quick review of Chapter 3 for you folks. I'm also going to post 3 videos regarding fire history in the United States that ties into Chapter 3. Okay? So check your announcements and you'll find the links to those videos. They're all on YouTube. All right. So here we go. Chapter 3 review questions. Key developments in early history of fire service. So as you'll find when you read the chapter, and I hope you guys are all reading the chapter, that Rome around 24 BC assigned 600 servants to be the fire protection for the city of Rome. They'd suffered many devastating fires in their history. There was 600 servants in a corps of vigils. Fire pumps, Rome invented fire pumps in around 3 BC. So as you can see, a lot of this stuff happened even before the birth of Christ. Back in 1066, William the Conqueror in England established fire laws. And after a series of devastating fires in London, in 1189, the mayor of London established building codes, the first building codes. Second question here is, how did settlements in early America address fire protection efforts? Jamestown in 1608, they had a fire that burned basically the entire settlement, and that led to organized firefighting in North America. In 1600 in Boston, the first fire personnel were established as fire wardens. They walked around the city at night looking for any unauthorized type fires. In 1718, there was the Mutual Fire Society of Boston. It was created to provide volunteer assistance to the regular Boston firefighters. Boston established their fire department in 1717. Philadelphia, city of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania had their fire department established in 1736 by Ben Franklin. And in 1737, New York Fire Department, FDNY, was established, and for 25 years was the only department to operate under unified command, which was, back in the day, that was a big deal. So number 3, question 3, why was there competition among early fire service volunteers? The rivalries amongst companies led to many improvements. For one thing, as you'll read in your book, volunteers were generally a product of the insurance companies, and if you could get to a fire before a rival insurance company did, you could charge that homeowner for putting out their fire, regardless of who they paid the premium to. So there was great competition. Out of that competition, we saw the development of building regulations, improved water systems, fire engines, and various types of fire equipment. The big thing was rival companies wanted to be first on scene. So even in today's world, in the fire service, it's a matter of pride for engine companies, truck companies, whoever, to be first on scene, especially in your area, especially if you're responding from quarters. It's a matter of pride to beat your neighboring engine company. That doesn't mean that we take unreasonable risks or do foolish things, but it's a big deal to beat your neighboring engine company to a fire. Some things never change. Question 4. First, what was the first city in North America to establish a department? That was Boston in 1717. The first fire insurance companies were in North America. Let me look here at my notes. So the first fire insurance companies were formed in Philadelphia. There was a company called the Philadelphia Contributorship of the Assurance of Houses from Loss by Fire. This was formed by Ben Franklin, 1752. Something you'll read about in your books is a a symbol called a fire mark. For the Philadelphia Insurance Company, the symbol was hand in hand as if you were shaking hands. Some companies had various logos. They were basically a logo that you put up on the outside of your house to let the various insurance companies know that, yes, in fact, your house was insured for fire. The Mutual Assurance Company was split off from the Philadelphia Contributorship. Their fire mark showed a green tree, symbolizing that they were willing to insure buildings near trees. So even back in the day, especially in the 1700s, when homes were and cities were built within the wilderness that was North America, they had an urban interface problem as well. So if somebody was doing burning out in the forest around a portion of the city and they got a good forest fire going, it would be the same as it is every fire season here in California or throughout the West where homes are burned. So let's see, that's insurance companies, some key developments in firefighting. Let me go to the book. Again, like you guys should be doing, using your book when you're answering these questions. So key developments in firefighting. Americans at the beginning of the country were a country of inventors. They were always coming up with new products, new ways to do things. And American fire engines started to become developed. You'll see in the book a couple of examples of early fire engines, and they were all, at this point in time, fire engines were pulled by human power. Later on with the steam pumpers were they pulled by horses, and after that, with the advent of the internal combustion engine, first gasoline and then later diesel, that's the progression. So foot power to horsepower to internal combustion. Chemical engines and ladder trucks. Chemical engines were just a big chemical fire extinguisher on wheels. Sodium bicarbonate. Let's see, gasoline and diesel powered equipment. I mentioned that. Most all fire apparatus today is powered by diesel. Diesel is more efficient and more powerful than gasoline. As time went on, improvements in protective clothing and self-contained breathing apparatus. With the advent of Nomex and Kevlar fabrics, turnout clothing has become very high tech. It's many layered. There's many layers in your turnout coat and pants to protect you from vapors, chemical vapors, steam, heat. They're less inclined to burn, or if they do get direct flame contact, as soon as you're removed from the flame contact, the fire goes out, the burning stops. Self-contained breathing apparatus has come from when I started in the fire service. Steel bottles, the breathing apparatus pack, weighed roughly 35 pounds. With the advent of carbon fiber and aluminum, different construction materials for the breathing apparatus tanks, breathing apparatus have gotten down to around 20 pounds or so. They're very, very efficient now. Let's see, what else do we have here? Alarms and communication systems. Here in the city of Fresno, you don't see it anymore, but on street corners, there were fire alarm boxes. You open the box, you pull down a handle, and a signal was transmitted to the fire alarm center down by Community Hospital. And from there, apparatus was dispatched to the location of the fire. Now, everything is computer generated in a command center someplace. Fire engines have computers with automatic vehicle location systems, so you know where other equipment is when you're responding to a call. GPS, mapping systems, pretty much you name it. If it's computer driven, then it's going to be in your fire engine. It makes for more efficient communications. Again, back in the day, in the 70s when I started, portable radios were a 3-channel affair that you were lucky to talk 100 feet. They were very poor devices. Now the handheld radios are much smaller, much lighter. They have up to 500 channels or possibly more, and you can talk great distances with your small handheld radio. Quite an advancement. Okay, some stuff that you're going to see on your quiz and for sure on your final. You need to take a look at 3 significant fires. Read the whole chapter of the heading Impact of Historic Fires on Firefighter and Public Safety in North America. And you'll see a list of significant historic fires in North America. Just go over that closely, read all of that. There's been many significant fires in North America that have come up and changed things like occupancy loads, fire exits, making sure that one, for instance, in New York, a fire called the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire in New York City in 1911 killed many women workers in a factory, a textile factory. They were making a shirtwaist. I'm not sure what that is, but they were making it. And a fire broke out and all of the exits were locked. There was no way for these women to get out of the building, and there was great loss of life. So fire codes were enacted that don't allow doors to be locked during business hours. You might see that on a store. You go into a store and there's a sign on the door that says these doors must remain unlocked during business hours. So things like that. Let's see. So read those closely, go over all of that information. And 2 fires that have had significant impact on firefighter safety. Question number 8. A big one in the wildland scheme of things was the Man Gulch fire in Montana in 1949. It killed 13 smoke jumpers. There were 3 survivors out of 15. And out of that tragedy came what is known as the 10 standard firefighting orders and the 18 situations that shout, watch out. And those are rules that have to be followed on all wildland fires. And when you guys get to the fire academy, we'll teach you all about that. But if you want to look it up, you can look it up online. You can Google it for yourself and see what the 10s and 18s are. Also, a major fire, and you can look this up. There's a YouTube video of that as well. A boiling liquid and expanding vapor explosion, or a BLEVE, during a propane transfer operation in Kingman, Arizona in 1973. It killed 11 firefighters. So a lot of these significant major fires that we've had where there's great loss of life amongst firefighters, that brings about changes in industry and in the way we do business as firefighters. Okay, so what I want you guys to do is understand it while you're reading this. I'm looking down at the book. That's what I'm doing. On the left and right margins of your book, in this chapter and all the chapters, you'll see little boxes, and in those boxes, it's kind of yellow colored, and it's got the heading is in red, so it'll catch your eye. Those are important things to look at. Those are important things that you know, because let me pick one here. For instance, fire mark. Remember I said something about a fire mark to tell people that you had homeowners insurance, fire insurance. So this defines fire mark: a distinctive metal or wooden marker once produced by insurance companies for identifying their policyholders' buildings. Okay, so you'll see things like that will come up in your test. So take close note and read these carefully, because you'll see them on your quizzes and on your final. Okay, let me double check here the review questions. Like I said, it's a real fast, real shallow slice off the top of your chapter. Don't forget, tomorrow is quiz number 2. Also, start thinking about your resume. I need you guys to start writing up a resume and uploading it to Canvas for me. Okay, that's 10 points of your grade. So if you have questions about your resume, you can email me. You can do research online on how to write a resume. And what I'm looking for is just a standard resume, who you are, your education, and your work experience. Generally, with a resume, we don't want it any more than one page. Any more than that, it kind of takes too much time to read if we have multiple resumes to look at. All right. Um, Again, I'm going to post 3 YouTube videos for you guys to look at regarding history of firefighting in North America. I think you'll like them. And I think that's all I have for now. So don't forget, tomorrow morning, the quiz number 2 opens up at 8 o'clock, and it's good until midnight tomorrow night. And that's it for now. Monday morning at 9 o'clock, we have our Zoom meeting, and I'll answer any questions that you guys might have. Okay? All right. So, as always, we still have the pandemic on. It looks like it's going to go a while longer, depending on what you read and how people are presenting information, the news media, and so forth. You'll have to make up your mind how you want to react to this stuff. But the best thing to do is to remain calm, do all the things you know you're supposed to do, stay home, keep your gatherings small, wash your hands, and take care of yourselves and your families. And we'll all get through this. Okay, folks, good luck on your quiz tomorrow, and have a great weekend.